What's up, Mad World's Coach Sess? Hey, I'm touching upon the subject of helping gyms today. And the topic comes down to this: why gyms should not use fighters to market the gym. So, let me find my notes and then we'll get into it. Because I feel like if you go that route, then the problem, well, there could be several problems. And one is most people know that the fighters really don't do a lot in terms of bringing revenue into the gym, and that's always been a long held belief. I'm not going to say that it's always a truism, but it is one that it is a belief that people hold, and a lot of times it's because of the fighters themselves, because the fighters want freebies. The fighters will potentially leave after the long time investment on behalf of the coach or the team. So there's a lot of negatives to why the fighters don't make the best marketing tool. So I want to look at some other things about fighters uh, that could go wrong for gyms if they try to use them as marketing tools. In today's climate, the best way to, it's just in my opinion, the best way to use fighters, um, that most people think is the best way, is to use them on fight promotions. So they go to these different shows and they perform, and then, especially if they perform well, then there's a video for social media and there's a follow up, a shout out or whatever, and that works. That works. The bigger issue is that it's a small ecosystem. So let's look at some things why putting fighters on fight shows don't actually work the way you think they work. And let's just use these examples. So I don't have hard, fast rules, just some examples. So let's say you put 5 fighters on a card, and 5 times that these fighters come to the cage or the ring, the name of the gym is repeated. Representing gym so and so, representing brand X MMA. It doesn't really matter the 5 times that gym is named. And here's where the problem works. Now, if that fight show is near the gym, it's a good thing. It's a good thing because then everybody associates that name with those fighters, that gym name, the location. It works out. But let's say these fighters have mixed results, win some, lose some. Then the fans or the people and the potential clients will look elsewhere. They'll say, well, before we go there, what else is there? And remember, this is a battle for attention, so you don't want to lose in that regard. So you could almost say putting 5 fighters that are not ready on a card would not be a good thing. All right. Now, we don't want to get into the thing where we're talking about the gym knowing the promotion, they give them easy fights, and it just turns into a marketing thing. That could be the case, but that's not what we're talking about today. But let's say you have 5 wins, all 5 wins, but the location is far away. So then that show is an amazing show. You had amazing performances, and then you even do the YouTube and Instagram shout outs and all that, right? The problem again is a small ecosystem. So the people that see it are probably already associated with you. They're probably fans and family members of those fighters already. So it doesn't go that far. So again, the name of the gym is repeated, but the fans are already clients, you know what I mean? And in some degree, directly or indirectly, they're already clients by some means. And then the worst case scenario is you guys go out and they have a poor performance. They go out there and get mollywopped, and I've seen that. Um, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say it was after COVID, so it would have been about 2022, 23, maybe even 24. I'd have to go and look at the Fight for It show listing, but there was this gym, and I do remember where we were. We were in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and this team, new gym. I think they had maybe 3 to 5 guys on the card, and they all got mollywopped. And then the next thing I knew, the gym was being shut down. So when I heard about the gym, they had been open about 8 months, and then they decided that, you're ready to put all these guys out there. I still say go with that hard, fast rule. Like, nobody's ready to fight until it's a year and a half. Nobody's ready to fight until at least a year and a half. And even if you're a new gym, or I'll put it this way, even if you're a veteran coach, you have a new gym, you still shouldn't put guys out until a year and a half, even if you have experienced fighters on that team, because you're all trying to get to know one another. So sometimes that year and a half of experience that you want the fighters to have is also a year and a half of you and this new relationship to develop. Make sure that everything that goes into it, these guys are going to show up. These guys have unique talents. These guys have at least that one talent that's going to give them an advantage. And that thing I saw that night, I didn't think any one particular fighter had that advantage. So you don't want to just have a new gym and suddenly put guys out there and have poor performance. Nobody's going to remember you. Now, can you be that gym in an area where nobody fights and have a poor performance and still have good clientele? Yeah, absolutely. My personal belief is that you have good clientele because you teach a good product and people like you. That's my personal belief. But I'm talking about fighters here. If you're going to use fighters, there is a way to do it, and stay away from, just my personal opinion, I would not go the route of wins and losses, having fighters just to say, yeah, we've got fighters. I'd avoid that. Again, your name gets repeated, the name of the gym gets repeated, but if you're having a poor performance, or the gym is too far away and you have a great performance, nobody knows. Nobody remembers on a poor performance. And if you have a great performance and you're too far away, then you just created a thought in the heads that, you're almost like inaccessible. Yeah, you're unavailable to this particular potential client. So how do we go about it? Well, you want to try to market fighters who are already marketable. Fighters who can market well or are already marketable. And so what I mean by that is, from the marketable perspective, they have good looks. And when I say looks, I mean something like that stands out, not necessarily because they're pretty or handsome. There's a lot of people that are pretty and handsome, but something that really stands out. For instance, if you take pro wrestling for an example, they're always looking for shock and awe. So I remember being a kid when I first started watching professional wrestling, and one of the things, it was two things that really kind of made me watch it, and that was Andre the Giant, this 7'5" behemoth, this giant, gargantuan man, wrestling. It just stood out. Always watching him knock guys down. He was basically unbeatable. And that was the story that they told around him. And then there was Tony Atlas, the Mr. USA bodybuilder. And these things stood out because it's like, okay, you got one guy with these muscles and he's always flexing. He can lift guys over his head. And then you got Andre the Giant. Nobody can lift him at all. And he never loses a match, So those things stand out. You see these larger than life figures. And that's what I mean when I say looks. Think about China when she was in WWF. Just a very unique approach to her persona. A woman with um, muscles. She was strong. She could fight men. So your looks are important, and in some cases, it's not a specific unique look that you have. Like your body type might be like everybody else's. You might be handsome. You might be pretty. It could be your outfit. It's just something about the way you wear certain clothing when you come to the cage or the ring, uh, and that you could use to help market. That fighter's already marketable, and you can use that as a as a as a as a as a connection, because the fans connect with this person's clothing, their outfit. I think I'm not 100% sure, but I know a lot of professional wrestlers. They either design their outfits or they make them themselves. So if you can have someone that is already kind of like got a bit of a fashion sense, that's going to help the gym, stand out a little bit. Um, how they sound, you know. So when I say, you know, uh, their sound, I actually mean the literal tone of their voice. You know, that what the tonality, the speech. Are they Southern? Are they Northern? Do they have an accent? Uh, those things are going to catch on. Are they incredibly? Do they speak well? Are they articulate? Do they speak slow? Do they speak fast? Do they have a tweak on certain words? Do they have a bit of a humor to them? Do they smile? Those types of things do stand out. And again, you're trying to make that connection with potential clients. So you don't know um, who you're going to pull out of this, but the thing you already know is that these people are already marketable because they have good looks and they probably have a good social media following. And also, if the athlete has a unique activity. I remember Avery Evans with he used to be a Modern Warrior, and he raised dogs. He was breeding dogs. Trying to think other people that have had unique activities. I've known some that were singers, rappers, dancers, actors. Uh, they did community service, sponsorships, things like that. So anything that supplements the fight stuff. It's something like we're talking about them for other than fight reasons. So that stands out. So these particular fighters that have these unique activities are very marketable. You want them in your gym because these things don't revolve around wins and losses. If you got a guy in your gym and he never fights, but everybody hears about the fact that you got a 7'5" guy training in your gym, people want to see it. People will want to see it. You can make that guy the gym bodyguard, the mat enforcer, something like that. People will go there just to see it, especially if he turns out to be like a gentle giant, real nice guy. That's a huge attraction for the kids. That's a huge attraction. What they talk about, what are they interested in? This is where you do have to be careful because, like, you can't have a person who is taking a political stand unless your gym is a political gym. So you have to be careful about letting this person be the voice of your gym, because then you're going to alienate some, and you don't want to lose what you already have. So you have to be careful with what they talk about, but that is a thing that stands out. Someone who has interesting conversation. Pay attention to your current clients. If you have a mixed value system inside your gym where people are Muslim, people are Christian, people are Jewish, um, you don't want to have someone who might be a really good person, a great, amazing fighter, but they have um, views about religion not being real. Like, they can have their views, but them being the face and the voice of the gym, nah, you might not want to use them as a representative because it's going to create some division. And when you're in the business, uh, trying to grow your business, you don't want to do anything that takes it away. That should be like your first and primary goal is, in order to scale later down the road and turn this thing into a giant conglomerate thing that you want, a chain or whatever, you have to start with like, let's make money first. Let's get some things going. Um, Also, when it comes to these fighters who you think might be able to represent you, make sure you understand who they associate with. So I remember watching the guy, you know, yeah, like think about Bryce Mitchell when he made those comments about Hitler being a good person or whatever, and it got him in a little hot water at first. You know what I mean? Like, I think he explained it all the way, but at the same time, it makes people like raise their eyebrows, like, I don't know about that guy, And remember that, like, the UFC wants to be careful with who they put out in front, especially on the main card. And I think sometimes these fighters forget, like, the thing that you're trying to do most of all, more than anything, is uh, uh, solidify a career for yourself. So make sure you understand, like, who these athletes are talking about, who they associate with organizations and other gyms potentially. You don't want them associating with your competition too much. If it's direct competition, like somebody that's 4 states away, it's not going to make or break the deal or anything like that. But just make sure you're aware of who they associate with before you go and say, this is our guy. We want this person representing us. Because again, this is a way you use these people, use their personas, their social media influence to help bring in clients into the gym without them having to fight. That's why I said probably these are the best people to use for marketing because they don't have to win anything. They don't have to lose anything. Make sure that they do have a legit social media presence. That should be up to the gym and the coach. Just because someone has 1 million followers, and let's say that your gym account does not does not automatically equate to conversion. It doesn't mean that a lot of people are going to sign up and join the gym because this person has a lot of followers. It's going to go back to a mix of these things. The activities that they are known for, how can you bring those things into the gym? How can they be a good blending? How can they be a good mix? Because if you can't find that balance, then all of this work is for nothing. And then as far as the fighters that are marketable already, what others say about them, that should be included to who you bring in and who you want associated. Think about Cage Side, the fight company, the when they choose to market a particular fighter, a particular gym, and get involved with an activity, they're very careful in terms of who that is, what those people do, because Boomer does a good job of listening and to the ecosystem about, like, who is this person, what do they say, what do others say about them, what are they known for, and if they have a good reputation amongst other people, then yes, it's okay to be associated with these people. So those are some of the qualities that I would say that you want in terms of a marketable fighter. So you want to make sure that you at least do some of these other things. Talk about your unique activities, your opinions, your thoughts in between fights. So you want to have something that looks like storytelling in between fights. Because there's got to be more to you than just being a fighter. It has to be more to you than just that. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. I am Coach Sess, and you've had words with the Mad Coach.